What's up, folks? It are me, BaRKy, and today I have something interesting to talk about and kind of ask questions about. I don't know. The question is, when is it okay to be neutral? And no, I'm not speaking about like acids and bases and charges, etc., etc. I'm being serious, okay? I'm being serious. This is my Nobel Prize in the making, so let's just keep it on topic. But really, this is something that I ask myself surprisingly a lot. Um, I was discussing this with my sister, who is very, very, very politically motivated in South Africa. And obviously, the politics in South Africa are a shit show compared to the rest of the world. They make Trump look like Michael from Heaven, you know, that guy. But she asked me, do I support Fees Must Fall, which is a South African group of people rallying for free education. Now, hearing myself say that out loud, you're probably thinking like, well, BaRKy, of course you support that. How can you not support free education for everyone? I do support free education for everyone, but I said to her, I'm neutral. And she laid into me with this this big argument, and she was shouting at me, and then she said stuff like, she gave me this quote. I'm trying to remember what it was. I have it written down somewhere. But yeah, I said I'm neutral, and she whipped out this quote at me, and it was by Martin Luther King, and it says, "The hottest places in hell are reserved for those who remain neutral in times of great moral conflict." Now, I don't know about you, but if I consider something to be a great moral conflict, I would gladly bring up, like, the Nazis in Germany or something. I wouldn't say that Fees Must Fall is a great moral conflict, so that quote is by itself kind of irrelevant to me anyways. That's not what stung. It was the fact that being neutral was such a big deal to her that she felt the need to like argue with me. And obviously we're siblings argue and stuff, but at this point at that point I'm 18, she's 19. We're not kids anymore. Anyways, that's a heavy quote to lay on someone. And the one thing I thought was like, how can people not be neutral in this? Like, how could people not be neutral in the face of what's happening right now in South Africa, which is something I'll talk about a bit. But just to give you guys a summary, the Fees Must Fall movement are a group of students who go around burning buildings in universities because the education isn't free. Tertiary education in South Africa isn't free, and that's university life. So, for example, in America, if you go to high school, most people in South Africa don't pay for primary school. Or if they do, it's about $70 a year, which is average price according to Google. I don't actually know the exact statistics, but it's about $70 a year for high school and primary school in South Africa. I have no idea how it is the rest of the world. I will do my research eventually. But I just want to give you guys that rough idea that it's not the most expensive, but it isn't free. And $70 could be the world to someone if they only have $100, for example. Anyways, but yes, I want free education. But at the same time, I don't want to support a group of people who go around burning university buildings. That's just insane to me. Maybe you people have heard about Rhodes Must Fall, which was this movement to get rid of the statue, and the Fees Must Fall has kind of evolved out of that Rhodes Must Fall, and now it's become like South Africa Must Fall and Science Must Fall. And, I did a video on it, but it's evolved. It's mutated. It's mutated into something worse anyways. Yeah. But just the idea of it made me think, how does neutrality affect us as humans? And how being neutral is something that's almost a given, but staying neutral is not. It's actually different. To stay neutral in the face of great moral conflict, as Martin Luther King Jr. said. At the same time, I don't think stupidity is something that goes hand in hand with not being neutral. I don't think the stupid people, the ones who can't think, are the ones who stay neutral. I don't think it's like that. And I'm not saying that just because I am someone who just said I'm neutral. I genuinely don't think you're stupid if you stay neutral, which is what a lot of people think. But on the other hand, you could be stupid enough to not... And by stupid, I mean ignorant in this case. You could be ignorant enough to not learn about the other side of an argument, an other side of the fight, stuff like that. But yeah, be neutral is something that's been prevalent in human history, especially in the modern human history, which is what I consider like industrial age to now kind of thing in the last 100 years, a bit more than 100 years, 102 years, let's just say. Let's go back to World War One and just talk about that. America, under the leadership of Woodrow Wilson, who was their president at the time, wanted to enter World War One, and this was a big deal. So they held a congressional vote where 373 people were totally for the war, and 50 were not. Now, in a case, you could argue that those 50 people were neutral, but I don't want to argue that because some people think it's right, some people think it's wrong. They wanted things to stay the way they are, and that's usually where neutrality comes from. It's from people not wanting things to change. More importantly than those 50 who disagreed with the war, 9 of them were neutral. They didn't mind war or not war, and you're thinking about World War One, and the world is kind of highlighted in that sentence. It's fucking World War One, dude. Like, really, you need to pick a side, okay? That's probably the obvious thing. That goes against the whole point of the video, though. But if I were to bring that up, I'd bring up World War II. Now, America did not want to enter the war in World War II. The public did not want to enter the war, especially the students. And why is it important that the students didn't want to enter the war? Well, probably because they were the ones on the front line, usually. Like, the average age of a soldier in Vietnam was 19. Yeah, so that's kind of scary. I'm sure that, according to Google, most people who watch my videos are about 24. So, it would be us, folks. It would be us 24-year-olds, even though I'm a bit younger than that. But of course, what forced them to go into the war was Japan bombed them. But before that, congressmen were lobbying to not enter the war. Like, of course, some people did want to enter it. But I can't explain it, but a huge majority of them, without knowing the percentages, did not want to enter the war. And that's pretty crazy. But yeah, obviously Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. They were forced into the war. At the time, Japan had allied with Germany. And, you know, Germany had just declared war on Russia at this time. Or it was in a very close period. So shit was getting hectic. It truly became the Second World War around the time that America joined. The important thing is, you couldn't really be neutral to Nazism. And a lot of Germans in Germany were neutral towards the war, but were not neutral towards Nazism. And it's a big deal to think like, oh, well, Germans were all Nazis, but that was not the case at all. But it must have been a pretty terrible place to live, though. Yeah, anyways. Ideologies aside, we have to understand that the world is not as black and white as it was in World War II. There was no right and wrong then, according to the people, until the war. And that was, Nazism was wrong, democracy was right. And that is generally what people think today, I'd hope. I don't know, I kind of agree with that, but that's a different video. But yeah, things are definitely not as black and white as that war is, and definitely isn't even close to what they lead us to believe it could be. Which is why the whole Martin Luther King Jr. quote hit me hard. I felt like I was being compared to a soldier choosing to not fight for freedom when it was in my face. When in reality, I was being compared to a soldier that doesn't know who the bad guys are, and I'm just shooting my gun. I don't want to go around and shoot my gun and maybe shoot the wrong person, you know. No, I'm not talking about my gun sexually, okay? But I don't want to take my gun and shoot the wrong people. What happens if I shoot the good guys? What happens if I support Fees Must Fall and they genuinely want the good thing, but ends up being a terrible thing? Just to give you guys an idea. Yeah, you'll hear me bring up South African politics a lot. It's because I can either, you know, I could pick a whole ton of things from that zoo and they would all be relevant, honestly. But yeah, to me, the Fees Must Fall movement is neither good or bad. The things that they're doing are bad, but the ideology they stand for is good. So a good and a bad must be neutral, because positive plus negative equals neutral. Nope. Nope. No. So I guess I would say I disagree with them now. Back then I wasn't sure. Now I'm pretty sure that I think it's a really stupid movement. What they become is stupid. Anyways, I don't want to drag the video on for longer than it needs to be, because, you know, that's kind of crazy. But yeah, it's like if you bring up Hillary or Trump, for example, it's almost black and white with how people will agree and disagree. You know, and I bring up South Africa because I just want to say, like, South Africa is a bastion of hope, but it isn't. It's like a sanctuary of corruption. And you won't hear me defend it very often, but I do love my home. I just really don't like the people there anymore. Which is sad, because some of them are nice people. Talking about you, Dylan, you're pretty cool. But yeah, it's just, some people say it's impossible to stay neutral because they force the chaos into you. And you take Hillary and Trump again and as an example. And, you know, if you ask the random person in America, are you pro-Hillary or pro-Trump? If they want to answer, they won't say I'm undecided. Or very few people will say they're undecided. The majority of people have made up their mind. And they're very passionate. Oh, well, not passionate, but their mind is made up and it's quite set. It's not going to be changed easily. You know, I saw recent polls that show that women's faith in Donald Trump is falling, but like very obviously because the things he's done wrong are targeting the women demographic. You know, talking about like grabbing them in the pussy. Like, come on, dude, you can't talk about that in public, man. You gotta do it silently, like I do. But anyways, you know, the election, it won't be a tie. If it's a tie, then it won't be a neutral vote. It'll be passed down to the congressmen underneath it. They'll have a congressional vote, and then these 500 people will say who they want to be president. If that's a tie, it gets passed down again until someone votes. There'll never be a White House cut in two with sellotape, and one side will be Hillary and the other side will be Trump. That'll never happen. It can never be a neutral White House, where one side is what you consider evil, and the other side is what you consider good. Anyways, guys, that's my story about that one time my sister said the Martin Luther King Jr. quote to me, and she said that she hates it when I'm neutral and stuff. I just thought I'd tell you about it. I hope you all have an amazing day. Sorry if the video is too long. I know I try to keep it around 6 minutes. This is probably going to be like 20. No, I'm joking. It'll probably be like 12 or something. But yeah, I hope you guys have a fantastic day and enjoy the rest of it if it's late for you. I've got 2 videos coming out today, so this is one of 2. And I just decided to record this one. I was going to do it tomorrow, but I was like, fuck it, let's be a rebel. Anyways, see you guys. Oh, and also, I'm sorry if the editing is weird. It's because these fucking kids keep coming to my house and stealing all my candy, so I've been walking to the front door every like 2 minutes while in the middle of recording this. So if the editing is like choppy, then you know why, okay? You know why. It's the fucking kids. Never have kids. Alright, bye bye. I'm just joking.